Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Happy Monday to you all. Thank you for joining us for another episode of House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk. I'm Chelsea Helms, coming to you, as always, live from the KNWA News Studio in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm so excited to already see so many of you joining us from really all over the country and the world. And I love having you all here with us this morning. So keep commenting on our different live feeds, whether that be LinkedIn or Facebook. We are so happy to hear you. A really important topic to discuss today. Today, we are discussing ways to keep your brain firing on all cylinders, especially during the tough times we've been experiencing lately. We are here to answer your questions. So if you do have a question for us, you can go to heart.org/housecalls and submit your question, or just drop it in the comments during the show, and we will try to answer as many of those as we can. As you know, if we can't get to all of them during the show, we are going to tackle even more of your questions during our house calls after show. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about coming up later on in the show. Now, as you know, a big part of this show is the involvement from all of you who are joining us. So today we're asking you the two things we always ask you first throughout our show. We're going to break for a few of our questions, and we want you to respond using our easy text to answer feature. All you have to do is text AHA live to 22333. You can see the information and directions there on your screen. One good thing, we're not going to ask you for your name or any information. This is simply a fun way for you to be involved and to answer those questions. Once you do that, we ask that you hit that share button or start a watch party, whatever's easiest for you, so you can share the stream with your friends and family. Like I said, this is a great conversation to have, so I know a lot of you will be involved, and we want even more of you to be able to get involved. So go ahead and share this if you can. It does look like we have that awesome audience joining us online, so let's get started. With me this morning is Dr. Glenn N. Levine, Master Clinician and Professor of Medicine at the Baylor College of Medicine and Chief of the Cardiology Section at the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center. Dr. Levine is also the author of Take Back Control of Your Mind, a guide to understanding, taming, and controlling your thoughts and emotions, and thereby achieving true happiness and inner peace. Quite the resume, Dr. Levine. We are so excited to have you here with us this morning. Before we jump into our discussion today, we're going to kick off with our first viewer response question. The question is, what do you do when you need a quick break during the day? Let's go ahead and look at those options. I know personally, I might bury myself in a book. Dr. Levine, what do you tend to do when you are having a stressful day and maybe need a quick break? So it looks like we are having some technical difficulties with Dr. Levine hearing us. So while you go ahead and answer, let's take a look at those options. We have stand up and stretch, call or text a friend, get a snack, browse online, or check social media. I have to say, I am also guilty of checking social media. And so far, that's what everyone is saying. And we are so excited to have so many of you taking the time to go ahead and answer some of our questions this morning. I want to give a shout out to some of the people who are watching us on Facebook while I give you guys more and more time to continue answering. Mike from Alexandria, Virginia, thank you for watching and commenting hello this morning. We have Margaret from Normal, Illinois, Kathy from Mesa, Arizona, and Sherry from North Carolina. And these are our friends who are joining us right now on our Facebook feed live. So excited to have so many people with us there. We also have Frank from Tampa, Miguel from Madrid, Dinah from Pennsylvania, Carson from Laguna Beach, California, and Deborah from South Carolina. So it's so exciting to have people, not even just from the different coasts, but from all over the country, the world. So excited to have that. So let's take a look now at how some of you are answering these questions. A lot of you are saying that you check social media or grab a snack. I think that the grabbing of the snack option probably leads me to believe that maybe stress eating, stress snacks, things like that. But I think a lot of us are kind of guilty of doing stuff like that. I love to see that some people are getting up and calling their friend, that's really good, because I think that's, in some ways, this pandemic is really was really making us connect more with some people that we might not have in the past. Dr. Levine, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good morning. I introduced you. I think we were having a few technical difficulties, but I introduced you and, talked about your extensive resume. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great. My pleasure, Chelsea. Sorry. It seems my computer may be a little fickle and is switching in and out of audio.
Well, we are happy to have you here and glad you can hear with us now. We were talking about the first reviewer response question. It's, what do you do when you need a break during the day? I said I personally like to bury myself in a book. A lot of people saying they check social media. Are you surprised to see that?
No, I'm not surprised at all. Social media seems to be what we're going to more and more. And it seems we're attached to either social media, our computers, or our cell phones in general. And I think it may give people just sort of a mental break from the constant stream that's going through their mind of all these thoughts and worries.
Do you think it's a healthy way to handle some added stress?
I think in moderation, it is a reasonable way to do it. I think we've all heard about people who get addicted to their cell phone and how much we're using the cell phone and social media. I think certainly if you need a 20-minute break and you want to read the news, read a website, chat back and forth with people, I think that's fine. Probably if we're doing it 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hours a day, that's probably a pinch too much.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. All right. We're happy that you can hear us. Hopefully, when we go into our next segment, we can keep you here with us, because we are moving on into health in the headlines. Each week, we select one current headline that ties back to the topic we are discussing during our show, and we ask our experts how to respond. Our expert in this case is you, Dr. Levine. So this week's headline is from Harvard Health. It's titled "Surviving Tumultuous Times." Dr. Levine, the headline itself pretty vague, doesn't give us a whole lot of insight. So talk to us about what this article is saying and your thoughts on it.
Well, if we think about these times, this is certainly like none of us have ever experienced. I think during normal times, we all already have enough stress, anxiety, and things to worry about. And I think this has been brought to a whole nother level with the COVID crisis. And the COVID crisis, I think, is affecting us, not just the fact that we're worried about COVID per se, but many of us are confined to our houses. We have to worry about social distancing. Many of us are financially challenged. There's many issues with work, and quite obviously, the politicization of this probably doesn't help at all. So this is probably the most challenging time that many of us have ever lived through, as far as our psychological and our mental health.
Absolutely. I know that so many people are really stressed out just because of this, whether or not they are, likely to get the coronavirus. But another thing to think about is we have so many people who have also lost their jobs. So while it's also a health crisis, as everyone knows, it is severely an economic crisis as well. We have a lot of questions to get to, so let's move on to You Ask, We Answer. And You Ask, We Answer. We address your health concerns live as we are talking today. You can submit your questions in the comments section or submit them at heart.org/housecalls. If you've missed our previous shows or just want to refer back to them, you can also visit our website to find them all in one place. This week, we are discussing, as you know, ways to keep your minds clear. Like I said earlier, firing on all cylinders during tough times like we are experiencing now. Our first question comes to us from Steve in Albuquerque. Steve says, Dr. Levine, I just can't seem to ever turn my mind off, and I just keep thinking and worrying. Is this normal? How can I stop?
Yeah. So the first thing, Steve, is this is normal. Many people, in fact, all of us, have these little voices or narratives in our head that constantly are talking about things we need to worry about, thinking about things we've done in the past, what's going to happen in the future. And humans are really unique in this respect. Evolutionarily, it actually made sense for us to worry about where we're going to get our next meal, or is that other group of people going to attack us. But unfortunately, in today's society, things that were beneficial to us or evolutionary adaptive no longer are. In the 21st century, our minds really run amok, worrying about everything, thinking about things, worrying about the past. If you really think about it, we spend almost all our time, unless we learn to regulate it better, either worrying about the past or thinking about the future. So you're not alone. And this, particularly in these COVID times, really adds to people's stress. The first thing to help address this is simply to recognize that this is normal. This happens in everyone. You are not alone. But just the fact that you can actually sit back and recognize, hey, why is my mind not focused on the present, but there I go again, thinking about something that happened a month, 6 months, 3 years ago, or worrying about something that may or may not even happen in the future. That's an important first step to what I call taming your mind and getting it to stop thinking about other things and become more focused in the present. And it's really about learning to focus in the present that is really the key to decreasing some of your worries, anxieties, and constant thinking.
And you don't need to see me to know that there are so many good questions to be asked today. All right, so
looks like I've lost the audio again, Chelsea. I'm going to try again to adjust my computer. I apologize for that.
Dr. Levine, can you hear me now? Dr. Levine, can you hear me?
All right. Again, I apologize.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening, but I can, and I apologize to the audience, but I can hear you, and it sounds like you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I apologize that you can't see me, and I appreciate everyone who's still sticking with us. Unfortunately, when you do live events, this is what happens. You know, you got to kind of roll at the punches. So we're excited to have so many people still joining us. So let's go ahead and move on to that next question. Cheryl from Tennessee asks, I've heard a lot of people use meditation and they mention meditation, but what is it and does it really work?
So the quick answer is meditation does work. But let me explain for a minute or two what meditation is, because meditation is sort of a term that is used very widely and loosely. Meditation, basically, some people take as either thinking or praying or many other things, and I think that is okay. But when we talk specifically about meditation, meditation is really something that we've learned from some Eastern cultures. And what meditation really is learning to study your mind. And it is a way in which we learn to initially focus it on something such as breathing and just learn to be able to concentrate and stay focused in the present. And again, usually the first step is something like either repeating a phrase or following your breath. Once you do that, the first thing you recognize is what we were talking about before, is that we think we can control our minds and decide what we want to think about. But as we heard from Steve, your mind just keeps flying all over the place. And that's really the first important insight in meditation, is that our mind does fly over the place and that we actually don't control it. As we meditate more, what we learn to do is to control our minds better, to keep it focused in the present, and then to really study our minds. What is our mind thinking about all the time? Why is it not staying focused? Why is it worrying about things 6 months ago? And that's part of the meditative process. Now, there's a lot of different subtypes of meditation. Some you focus on the breath, some you try to just clear your mind completely, some you try to think about specific things. But what they all have in common is that you usually sit quietly and you try to look or study what's going on inside your mind and learn to slowly control it. And that's what's really meant by meditation.
Well,
Now,
it sounds.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
on.
No, go ahead.
So that's what meditation is. Now, it's not easy. Everyone loves to do it. But basically, everyone can learn to do it. You do not have to be a Buddhist monk to do it. The vast majority of people, particularly in the US, are people who are taking care of their families, raising kids, going to work every day. And in essence, you just start off by doing it 5 or 10 minutes, and then you gradually build up to perhaps 20 minutes a day. And in essence, as I wrote in one of my books, here's how you do meditation. You find a quiet place to sit. You focus your mind on your breath, and you follow the breath. And that's meditation. To do it is harder than that, but in essence, if you can start by doing that, you are now meditating. And you do it for 5 minutes for, say, a first week, then you work up to 10 minutes, and then you work up to 20 minutes. And what all of you in the audience will find is when you try to do this, maybe you'll do it for 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then your mind is going to start to wander. That is normal. You accept it, and then you just go back to focusing on the breathing. And again, as I said, when you meditate, that's one of the first huge insights, is that we all think we control our brains and we can just turn it on and off. We can't. Our brains are constantly thinking about the past and worrying about the future. But we get better and better at doing that, and we can learn to do that through meditation.
Really quickly, I had heard you mention that you said 5 minutes for the first week. Is this 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes for the first week in general, and then kind of boost up the amount you meditate? Or should we be meditating every day?
Yeah, it is generally, if you start out 5 or 10 minutes every day, that's probably more than enough. We don't want people to start out with too much and then get discouraged or bored. So I'd be happy if people even do it for 5 minutes a day. What you want to do is find a quiet area where you're not going to be distracted by your kids, your family, your spouse, by your cell phone. Just sit comfortably. Try to do it at the same time each day if possible. And it's much better if you do it every day. It really does not help if you do it just once a week or once every 2 weeks. It's sort of like if you're going to start a walking or jogging program. Basically, you start out slow, you do your walks or you do your jogs every day or every other day, and you gradually build up and get better and better at it.
Good to know, doctor. Thanks for explaining that. All right, this one comes to us from Angela in Maryland. She says, I'm always trying to be happy, but nothing I do ever seems to work. Is there some secret answer?
There actually is a secret answer, and I'm going to explain it. Particularly in the West, what I've learned is we all want to be happy. Every human being wants to be happy. The problem is we don't know what actually brings us happiness. We just know what we think is going to make us happy. So for instance, there are actually these surveys of what people do to make them happy. Being with family, having purpose in life, having an optimistic attitude, appreciating what you have. These are things that actually make people happy. But when you ask people what they want to be happy, well, we all say, we want more money, we want a bigger house, we want a shinier car, we want a new boyfriend or a girlfriend. We want all these things that we don't have. The problem is, as soon as we get one of them, well, we want something even more. If we had an iPhone 6 and we got an iPhone 8, we think that'll make us happier. But a week later, we want an iPhone 10. If we got a 50-inch LCD screen TV, well, now we want a 75 screen TV. If we get a nice house with good walls and good air conditioning, we watch TV and we want a mansion. If we have a loving, caring spouse, we watch something on TV. Oh, I want that famous movie star. It's this wanting that actually prevents us from being happy, rather than us appreciating what we have in the moment and learning how to be happy with that. It's the Sheryl Crow song. It's not having what you want. It's not wanting what you have. It's having what you want. It's really learning that our minds are never happy. They always crave more and more and more. And once we learn to control this craving and realize, oh my God, I want yet another thing. I think if that happens, it'll make me happy, but it won't. I'll just want more. And we just learn to appreciate what we have. Those are actually the people who are the happiest.
Yeah, that's good to know. And I like the way you put that Sheryl Crow song in there, because I think it was helpful for people to hear that, put it into perspective. Now, we have a lot of questions that are coming in, but first we're going to take a break for another poll question so we can hear from everyone who's watching us again. So grab your phone and get ready to text in the answer. As a reminder, all you have to do is text AHA Live to 22333. If you've already registered, well, good news for you. You don't have to do it again. Just get ready and text your answer, like I said, to 22333. Our question is, do you feel you have a healthy work-life balance? I'm interested to hear how people respond to this one, Doctor, especially having a lot of people working from home. And I think that sometimes naturally when you bring work to home, it's really difficult to escape. Already we're seeing people who are answering the question. A lot of people are saying before COVID, I did, but not currently. Do you have anything to say to that?
So it's interesting. I would have almost thought the opposite. All of us, again, have been raised in our culture to achieve more and more and more, to earn more and more and more, to keep rising, rising, rising. So if we get one raise, we want another raise. If we get one title, we want a bigger title. This is the way American culture has raised all of us, certainly myself included. I'm also guilty as anyone, as if someone asks me, do you want to do this extra project? I always say yes, 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 because that's the culture. And I think if I keep answering yes, that'll lead to bigger and better things. What I've actually
we're all
learned
pleasers,
over the
right?
Yeah. So what I've actually learned over the last decade, and I emphasize as chief of cardiology to many of the people who work in my section, is I think we need to recognize how we've been raised, and we need to actually consciously better delineate a better balance between work and life. We only get one life. Our kids only grow up once. We have no idea when illness will strike us. So along this path of working for our career and making money, we really need to stop and actually enjoy and appreciate the ride. So I actually encourage people, including the people who work for me, and certainly I do it myself, to try to balance things better. Now, I actually would have thought with so many of us working at home that actually would balance things out a little bit better. But unfortunately, again, in these COVID times, it's not sort of staying at home and relaxing with your family. It's trying to multitask, do your work, take care of the family, cook the meals, deal with other things. So I guess not surprising in retrospect that a lot of people are saying that it's actually harder these days to balance things.
Well, and good news, based on people who are joining us this morning, it looks like a lot of them are saying they do feel like they have that healthy work-life balance. So happy to see that. All right, our next question is, how would you rate your current stress level? I think that we would all agree that the current environment has likely increased our level of stress at really one point or another. And we know everyone, they respond to stress in different ways, but we also know that regular physical activity can improve quality of life and relieve stress, tension, anxiety, and depression. So while we wait for you guys to continue answering this for us, I want to mention something. The American Heart Association created a Move More streaming series featuring guided, mindful meditation, yoga, strength, and cardio workouts, dance parties, and more. Hello, everyone, by the way. I'm glad to see that my camera feed is working again. And I think it's all something we can benefit from. So I'm going to have you watch this quick video that'll give us a glimpse into the series and what you'll find. I love that. She looked like she was having a blast dancing there. All right, let's take a look at those poll results now. Looking like a lot of you are more stressed than normal. I know, Doctor, you and I were just talking about this. It's just a really stressful and tumultuous time. I'm hoping to see that some people maybe go with that answer A, that they're not so stressed right now. But personally, I think that I'm more on the 3 line. Working in the news, I feel like some days are more stressful than others, especially in the midst of this pandemic. How would you say you're dealing with stress right now, Dr. Levine?
So let me say a word about stress, because that is what's on all our minds. And again, this is something you sort of learn from meditation and a lot of other techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot of things that many of the viewers are familiar with. And the bottom line is, and it takes a while to sort of really understand this and appreciate it, is that there are external things that we always say are making me stressed. But the reality is, it is not these external things per se.
Mm-hmm.
It is our reaction to it. And that's a hugely, profoundly important thing to understand, and it takes a while to it. So in other words, something can happen. Your child spills some ketchup on the floor. Well, that is not what causes you stress. It is rather our reaction to it. Because if you think about it, we can either get stressed, oh my God, they've ruined the carpet, or we can laugh it off.
Mm-hmm.
How we react to things is actually, with enough practice, strictly up to us. So it is actually not things that make us stressed, it is our reaction to it. The same with frustration and anger. We all say, he's making me stressed, he's making me frustrated, my boss is making me this. Well, they're doing those things, and certainly typically we think of these things as causing frustration or stress, but it's ultimately really our reaction to it that causes it. Now, this is easy to say, much harder to do. But again, if you start to understand these things, and certainly meditation and reading and a lot of websites and other programs can help, I think that's a critically important thing.
Yeah, definitely a lot of helpful information there. Most people answering, they are more stressed than normal, but I think that we can all agree that this is a really tough time for so many, and let's hope that they can learn how to react, as you were saying, a little bit better and maybe deal with that stress. All right, let's get back to our topic at hand and address a few more of our questions. This one comes to us, Dr. Levine, from Alex in Kansas City. He says, I've heard that my heart is affected by stress. Is this true?
Yes, certainly there are a lot of studies that people under more stress, they are at least associated with things like higher blood pressure, increased risk of smoking, eating more and getting obese, and it may directly affect the buildup of plaque or atherosclerosis in your heart arteries. And certainly we know short term, whenever you get stressed, your adrenaline kicks in, your heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up, and probably some of the viewers have even heard about things like broken heart syndrome, where people under tremendous amount of stress can have what looks like a heart attack. So certainly stress affects us in many ways. It's a little less clear how much we control the stress, how much that helps, but we think, and there's some data to suggest, that if we can better control stress, that is beneficial. We can smoke less, we have lower blood pressure, we may decrease our risk of developing heart disease.
Yeah, good to know. You kind of talked a little bit about this next question, so I'm curious to see if you have anything more to add. But Terry from Birmingham says, I get frustrated a lot by my spouse. I know this isn't good. What can I do to stop doing this? You mentioned just a little bit ago during that poll question that reaction is huge.
Yeah, the same exact thing. Again, it is not the spouse or our kid that makes us frustrated. It is our reaction to it. And one technique that is also suggested to help deal with it is, rather than internalize things and say, I am frustrated, there is a technique where you sort of depersonalize it and think of frustration not engulfing you, but just something that is happening in a distant part of your brain. So the next time you get frustrated, what you stop and tell yourself is, I am not frustrated, but I can sense that there is frustration in my brain or in my mind. So you say to yourself, there is frustration. When you do that, it helps depersonalize things. It basically lets you sort of take the frustration, grasp it, pull it out of the you, and move it away into something that you can then deal with. And you just sort of leave it there. You understand there is frustration, but you don't allow it to take control of you. And we know that frustration, like every other thought and emotion, is going to dissipate. It may dissipate in a couple minutes. It may dissipate in an hour. It may dissipate in a couple hours. But all of these things come and go. All these thoughts and emotions come and go. And again, if you do allow something to cause frustration, you try to dissociate from it. There is frustration. I know it's there. I'm not going to let it engulf me. It'll be there for a little bit and then it'll disappear. That's another helpful thing that many people can do if you can't do the first step in recognizing that it's not the person that causes frustration, it is our reaction to it.
Thank you for that helpful tip. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that. Our final question is from Eric in Pittsburgh. He asks, all of this COVID stuff has me really worried about the future. It's all I think about. What should I do?
So first, it is absolutely understandable that people are thinking about COVID. You can't turn on the TV or turn on the internet or even run into the neighbors without thinking about COVID, COVID, COVID. So what I'd like to do is try to draw a distinction between being concerned about COVID and taking appropriate steps, such as we hear on TV, such as wearing masks and socially distancing and washing our hands. Those are all appropriate concerns and steps. That's a little different than worrying, which is, again, this mental process where our mind keeps thinking about the future, the future, the future. Am I going to get COVID? Am I going to get COVID? Is someone else going to get COVID? How is COVID going to affect me? Being concerned and taking appropriate steps is useful. It's helpful. It helps you to control things. On the other hand, worrying accomplishes nothing. Worrying does not change what is going to happen in the future. Whether we worry or don't worry about something is going to have no impact on what actually happens. The example I use in one of my books is if you're at an airport and a flight is delayed and you may miss the connecting flight. Well, all the worrying in the world is not going to help the mechanic fix the plane quicker or is going to make the skies and a storm clear quicker. Worrying doesn't affect the outcome of things in the future. And I think that's helpful. So we can be concerned about COVID, take appropriate steps in the here and now, but recognize just worrying about something in the future is not going to impact in the slightest whether that thing actually comes to fruition or not. And I found that's a very, very helpful strategy in thinking about things. We can control the things we can control and accept that there are some things that we just can't control. And that's very helpful.
Yeah, I think you hit on two specific things that a lot of people are, that is very wanting to be in control or controlling and future oriented. So I think that those are good tips that'll help a lot of people out. Dr. Levine, you truly are an expert. So thank you for all those thoughtful answers. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions today. But if you do have more questions, make sure you drop them in the comments and we'll grab those for the house calls after show, where we work to answer more of your questions that we couldn't get to today. You can find it on the American Heart Association's YouTube channel and the podcast that'll be available later this week. We do still want to get all of you at home involved. So let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. That is, what would you say? And what would you say? We want to hear from you. If you've been with us throughout the show, you already know what to do. Grab that phone and get ready to text your answer to 22333. All right, here is our first question. It is, how does stress affect your eating patterns? I know that earlier on in the episode, we had a segment where you were allowed to kind of vote in on the polls. And a lot of you said when you just need a break, you grab a snack. So Dr. Levine, do you want to weigh in on how stress affects people's eating patterns?
Yeah, I do, because I'm probably as guilty as anyone. And yes, certainly there's stressful eating and what we call mindless eating, where we just eat to relieve stress. It's probably not great. It can certainly be done to excess. Certainly, I've joked to many of my family members and neighbors that I've put on the COVID-19 as far as a couple pounds, dealing with everything and dealing with sitting at home. So it is probably not the best way to deal with stress, as opposed to going for a walk or taking a mindfulness break. But it's something people do, and it's certainly something I'm as guilty of as anyone. And so perhaps we would say if people need to take a little snack break to help relieve their stress,
Mhm.
that they at least mindfully recognize what they're doing. And so perhaps instead of eating the entire bag of Cheetos, we pour ourselves an acceptable, modest portion, and recognize that we're just going to eat that.
All in moderation, right? Looking like a majority, or actually, in fact, 100% of the people who are weighing in on this right now are saying that they do overeat when they are stressed. They mindlessly munch, as it says. Personally, I feel like I'm kind of between A and C. It's I either am kind of a snacker myself, or I just get buried into something and then I just don't eat. So I've got to work on that moderation thing. All right, let's go ahead and get to our final question of the day. It's going to test your knowledge. True or false? Managing stress can reduce or prevent heart disease. I think that we can all get a pretty good grasp on what the answer is, but Dr. Levine, you want to give us the answer?
Yeah, we know that stress is certainly associated with detrimental processes to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
We know that people who are less stressed are probably healthier and probably have lower blood pressure, better reactions to life, are less likely to smoke. And we think that those who engage in activities or programs to reduce stress probably benefit as far as their overall health and their heart in particular.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people see that as well. We have 75% of our audience saying that true managing stress can reduce or prevent heart disease. You know, Dr. Levine, we've really appreciated having you on. You've really, your thoughts have helped us keep our minds clear. I mean, your insight and the tips that you've given us, they're truly invaluable. You know, sometimes it is enough to just say what's troubling you out loud so you can recognize it and just move on. So I want to offer you the table for any final thoughts today.
So my final thoughts, again, would be to summarize a lot of things that I'm saying. We're all under conditions that we've never been used to. And even before that, we all have many things in life: our family, our job, our neighbors, our house, things breaking, needing other things. I think it is very helpful for us to first appreciate what we have now. And part of my meditation, at least once a week, is to sit quietly and go through all the things that I have now, not the things I want, but I have a house where the air conditioner and heater work. I have people who love me. I have a healthy family. I have a job. And then even look at the smaller things. I have clothing. I have food. All of these things, I think, are very helpful to appreciate all the good things we have now. And then on the bigger picture, to sort of recognize what we think will make us happy and what we have that actually does make us happy. And I think we will come to the recognition that most of us have the majority of things we need right now to actually be happy. And the only thing that upsets that happiness are our thoughts about the future, our worries about what is going to happen, and the way we flagellate ourselves again and again about thoughts that are not positive from the past. So the more we can learn to understand our mind, to clear our mind, and to focus our mind, I think that is really the key to people being happy and helping to get through these extraordinary times. That's what I would encourage people to do. Those who want to try meditation, go ahead and do that. Those who just want to read about it or read about different ways to clear the mind, whether it's their prayer or other things, I think are helpful too. But just take a couple minutes of me time, 5 or 10 minutes every day. Sit by yourself, whether you call it prayer, meditation, or anything else, and help to clear your head and really get perspective on things. I think that is really key to getting through what we're going through these days. And I hope that all of this has been helpful to all those who are listening today.
Well, I'm sure it has. It's been a pleasure to have you, Dr. Levine, and I hope that people do implement some of those things that you had talked about throughout the show. So thank you, and I hope you have a great week.
Great. Thank you so much, Chelsea, and thanks to everyone who are tuning in.
All right. Before we do sign off, we have one more thing to share with you, and that is our weekly health hack. Health Hacks is brought to you by Stories of the Relentless, the American Heart Association's podcast. You can go to heart.org, iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play to find it. You'll also find many amazing stories and conversations on a variety of topics. So I encourage you, go check it out, share your thoughts in the reviews, and share it with your friends and family. This week, Health Hack coming to us from Sharon. Hello, Miss Sharon. Sharon has started finding moments of gratitude to even out the ups and downs of the day. She suggested these 2 actions. First, take a photo of something you find beautiful and take a moment to reflect on why. That's a great one. Second, text someone and tell them why you are grateful for them. It'll make you feel good and brighten someone else's day. So Sharon, thank you. I agree. I think we can all agree that, doing these things would really benefit us and maybe get us practicing a little bit more gratitude these days. I think that one thing with the second tip that you provided about texting people, it just goes to show, even though this pandemic has physically separated us, socially we can still connect, and maybe we're hopefully connecting with people a little bit more so now than we might have before. So we got to try to find the silver linings and things like this. Now, remember, we do feature a new tip each and every single week. So if you do have a great idea, send it to us at heart.org/housecalls, and maybe we will see your idea on our show next week. Like I said, I'm so happy to have so many of you joining us. I do want to say thank you for sticking with us through all of our technical difficulties today. But you guys, that is live TV, and that's just the way it works sometimes. But we have so many of you who stayed with us throughout the entire show, and we're a part of such what was really a great, helpful conversation. So we so appreciate that. All right, that does it for our show today. Don't forget, each week there are always more questions than we have time to answer. If we didn't get to yours, we will work to answer as many as we can on the House Calls After Show. You can look for it Wednesday on our social channels and on the AHA's new podcast. As I mentioned earlier on the show, you can find any of our previous shows at heart.org/housecalls. I hope you all have a stress-free week. Take some time for yourself to clear your brain and relax, and maybe implement some of those new tips that Dr. Levine taught us about today. All right, once again, I'm Chelsea Helms coming to you live from the KNWA News Studio, Northwest Arkansas. Thank you for watching. I'll hope you join us again next Monday. Have a great week.
Learn more about House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk, and submit your questions at heart.org.